Greetings. I'm Chris Baldrige, President of the Board of Open Stage, and on behalf of the board and staff of Open Stage, I'd like to welcome you to our 2020 virtual gala. While in the past, we've gathered to celebrate at unique and interesting properties throughout the region, this year we're hosting our gala in the comfort of your very own home. With your support, we're well on our way to reaching our goal of $25,000, and thank you all for your generous donations. As a Virtual Gala 2020 guest, we hope that you enjoy the many surprises we have planned over these 2 nights. And as a reminder, donors who contribute over $100 will get 1 ticket to our in-house on-site reopening party. Donors who donate $200 or more will get 2 tickets to the in-person event. We can't wait to reopen our doors when it's safe to do so and lift a glass together in celebration. Until then, I encourage you to find a comfy chair, grab some tasty treats, pour yourself a drink, and enjoy the evening. Thank you for your support and look forward to seeing you in the theater soon.
Ride a bike, whistle, laugh so hard it hurts.
That makes me. You are such an asshole! That is auntie asshole to you, dearie.
It just so happens that I'm free over the holidays if you'd like some company.
I don't celebrate
The holidays?
anything.
You've seen lots of guys with this.
Lot.
And we'll struggle on with the living, and we are not going away. We won't die secret deaths anymore. The world only spins forward.
What's gonna happen?
I Wow. What amazing seasons we have had in recent years. I am so thankful for all of the artists who created all those beautiful works. Thank you. Greetings. I'm Stuart Landon. I'm a proud member of the dynamic staff at Open Stage and serve as your Master of Ceremonies this evening for the 2020 Virtual Gala. I would like to begin by acknowledging the Susquehannock peoples, upon whose unceded land we are presenting this event, and many of us are virtually gathered. I recognize the sovereignty of the indigenous peoples as stewards of this land through times past, present, and into the future. In acknowledging this, we at Open Stage reaffirm our commitment to the work of dismantling the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism and the exclusions and erasures of many indigenous peoples that continue today. Also, at Open Stage, we believe that Black lives matter. We at Open Stage proudly stand united with Black people and communities of color during this moment of unrest and uprising. We hear your cries for justice and your calls for action. We will listen, we will use our position to fight for you, and we will love and support you. We share in your grief and we share in your desire for radical change. In our work to be an anti-racist organization, we are working on our education and our organizational commitments. Tonight is a celebration of theater, a celebration of our family of artists, and a celebration of love, resiliency, and yes, of growth. Tonight, we also will specifically celebrate 2 recipients of our annual St. Genesius Awards. We know you had a lot of choices when it comes to places that you could be here tonight, and we appreciate that you have chose to be here with us. Therefore, welcome. If you have attended our biennial gala in a previous year, thank you for returning to this event in its new virtual format. This year, to protect the health and safety of our staff, artists, and guests like you, we have pivoted, a word that you will undoubtedly hear a lot this evening, to this virtual event. So let us celebrate the resilience of the theater and of the loyal patrons who support us. Thank you, my friends. Thank you, my family. A big thank you to the board of directors also, and to many of our Emeriti board members who have made our virtual gala a fundraising success. As Chris Baldrige mentioned, we are closing in on our goal to raise $25,000. Frankly, I believe we'll exceed that by the end of the weekend, if not by the end of the evening. And thank you to the Foundation for Enhancing Communities for stepping up and sponsoring this event as well. A few items of note to share. Make sure to check your bar and fridge to see if you have all the right ingredients for our signature cocktail, a delicious sounding basil strawberry concoction from our resident mixologist, our business manager, Brianna Dow. Bree will be leading us in a happy half hour tomorrow, Thursday, June 26th at 7 p.m. And I hope you'll join us. The happy half hour will be on Zoom, so make sure to register on our website, openstagehbg.com/gala, so the link can be sent to you along with the password. Tonight just begins the celebration. Tomorrow night we'll continue the gala fun with a night of music and comedy led by the team that bring you Open Stage's new streaming show, My Talented Friends Live, each Tuesday night. And join me in dressing up. Get into your suits, your tuxes, your gowns, and your glitter, and send your gala-ready selfies to gala@openstagehbg.com. We want to share and celebrate how fabulous you all are. Tomorrow is sure to be fun, so make sure to join us for the happy half hour and then that special night of singing and laughs hosted by Chris Gibson. We are so close to reaching that goal of raising $25,000. So send your friends to openstagehbg.com/gala to donate today and help us cross that finish line. We have a special offer for you as well. This is something new and different. During the gala, you can purchase a virtual singing telegram. Yes, you heard it here. That's right. A virtual singing telegram for a $100 donation to Open Stage. An Open Stage artist will create a custom video of a cabaret tune that you can share with a friend or loved one, or maybe you just want to file it away and cherish it for yourself. The virtual singing telegram is completely customizable and offers a one video recorded tune. You can visit openstagehbg.com/telegram to buy your virtual singing telegram right now, or maybe wait until after the gala this evening is finished. The bar is hopefully open all night. That's your bar. So make sure to fill your cup and we can toast all throughout the evening. And so now sit back and relax, or even better, as we like to say at Open Stage, lean forward and open your mind and enjoy the 2020 virtual gala. I'm pleased to welcome to your screen Gabriella DeCarli. You might recognize Gabriella from her star turn as the title character in Amelie the Musical, which played this past winter at Open Stage. She is here to share a song from that show tonight. Gabriella is singing "Times Are Hard for Dreamers."
Hi, my name is Gabriella DeCarli, and I'm coming at you sort of kind of live from my parents' garage because it has the best acoustics around. And I'm so excited to be singing "Times Are Hard for Dreamers" from this past season's musical, Amelie. They say times are hard for dreamers, but they won't be hard for me. I've saved up everything I know to take that step beyond the lawn, keep walking till I see the station and then see it go. Inside the train, out through the glass, my finger tracing all of these towns I've never heard of, racing past. Off the train in Paris, half a mile from Sacre-Cœur, the city's waking up for me. A sign says an apartment's vacant on the second floor, and suddenly I hold a key. I turn a lock, the rooms appear, and all it takes is one more step, and then I'm here, just me behind my door. It isn't what I have, it's only what I have in store that matters now. The past can only fade, and everything I'll ever need is here. This is how my world gets made. They say times are hard for dreamers, and who knows, maybe they are. People seem stuck or lost at sea. And I might be a dreamer, but it's gotten me this far, and that is far enough for me. Look out my window, there's a view of other windows, my own museum full of paintings I look through, where everything is clear. It isn't where I am, it's only where I go from here that matters now, and I am not afraid, as everything I'll ever need appears. This is how my world gets made. Thank you.
That was just wonderful, Gabriella. Thank you so much. I would now like to recognize our board of directors who have worked tirelessly this season to culminate a capital campaign, to build a new building, to raise funds for our emergency appeal in March, and to help us bring together our family of supporters for this, our first virtual gala. The 2019-2020 board of directors are Christopher Baldrige, President; Caitlin Kopis, Vice President; John Tierney, Treasurer; Dr. Mary Simmons, Secretary; Sharia Benn, Janice Black, Heidi Bowie, Michael Ciappelloni, Harold Dunbar, Craig Keel, Beryl Kaur, John Levin, apologies, Dr. Linda Litton, Michelle Loomis, Dr. Emily Matlin, Rebecca Stevenson McClure, Joseph Schalk, Barbara Schell, Michael Toulos, and Krista Wallace. And thank you to our board emeriti, founding artistic director Donald Alsadek, founding education director Ann Alsadek, founding managing director Marianne Fisher, Mary Lou Harris, Nicholas Hughes, Karen Lehman, and Kristen Schofield. Thank you all for your service and for your leadership. I would also like to celebrate my fellow staff persons, business manager Brianna Dow, marketing manager Rachel Landon, production manager Chris Gibson, and sales manager Benny Benameda. Thank you all for your work over the past year. This will certainly be one for the history books. Next up, we are proud to announce the honorees of the 2020 St. Genesius Awards. It's me again. This is the third annual St. Genesius Award. We started it a couple of years ago in order to honor those artists and community members who have gone above and beyond in that season, or perhaps over many years, to create great art at Open Stage. St. Genesius is considered to be the patron saint of actors. We gift to the honorees a St. Genesius medal, which is a lucky charm for theater people, but only lucky if you are gifted the medal. You can't buy one for yourself. Many years ago, over 20 years ago, my high school theater teacher, Marilyn Miller, God rest her soul, gifted me one, and I cherish it. Every year, on to the honorees. Every year we put on a little show at Open Stage. It's called Court Street Cabaret. Sometimes we do it multiple times a year. And every year, every time, this person is standing there beside me as my co-host. And every year I ask her how many years we have presented Court Street Cabaret. And every year she says, 100, 100,000, or, oh God, I have no idea. I was going to count, but I think it's more fun that I don't remember either. She has appeared on our main stage in many productions, including Proof, The Amish Project, Little Women, Carrie the Musical, Amelie the Musical, and Angels in America. She's an amazingly skilled actor and singer, a generous scene partner and human being, a passionate person, and a delight in the rehearsal room. And so, even though she doesn't have any idea she's receiving this award, the first 2020 St. Genesius Award is presented to Alexis Campbell in recognition of your outstanding dedication to the theater and Open Stage. So, Alexis, here's a little video celebrating you.
Love is just another diagnosis, like bacterial vaginosis. Once you're in it, you're committed. And I light up when you call my name, because I know you're gonna treat me right. Give me fever when you kiss me, fever when you hold me tight.
It's a kind of gift from God, the crowning touch to the creation of the world. Guardian angels, hands linked, make a spherical net, a blue-green nesting orb, a shell of safety for life itself. But everywhere things are collapsing and lies surfacing and systems of defense giving way. Whew. This is why, Joe, this is why I shouldn't be left alone.
Sending love to you, Alexis, and thanks for such fabulous art that you've helped us create over the years. So thank you very, very much. And we'll see more of Alexis later in our panel discussion. And she can scold me then for not warning her ahead of time. In addition to that, I'd like to move on to our next honoree. For nearly 4 years, Barbara Schell has served on our board of directors. She's the type of board member that everyone dreams to have. Every time Barb steps up to the plate, she delivers a home run. She taught me so much about development, fundraising, and about capital campaigns. Barb has served on the 3030 Capital Campaign Committee, and most recently has been its chair as it's closing out. And thanks to her stewardship and leadership, we are closing out that campaign strong. To date, our community has raised over $1 million. Thanks to Barb, we have been able to secure the support of many high-level foundations and corporations. We are thankful to Barb Schell for her passion, dedication, and leadership. Thank you for your service. Thank you, Barb, and congratulations, for you are the second winner of the St. Genesius Award for Open Stage 2020. Please make a joyous noise at home in the comfort of your own couch for the second award recipient tonight, Barbara Schell. To celebrate Barb, we welcome to the screen a good friend of Open Stage and one of our associate artists, Stacey Werner, who also happens to be Barb's niece. Singing Back to Before from the musical Ragtime, here's Stacey Werner.
There was a time our happiness seemed never-ending. I was so sure that where we were headed was right. Life was a road so certain and straight and unbending. Our little road with never a crossroad in sight. Back in the days when we spoke in civilized voices, women in white and sturdy young men at the oar. Back in the days when I let you make all my choices. We can never go back to before. my sky, my moon and my stars, and my ocean. We can never go back to before. We can never go back to before.
Open Stage. It's a home for creative people to tell transformative stories and collaborate with each other.
The staff that is currently employed by Open Stages, we are so grateful to the Alcedex and to the way they, and to the board of directors and the folks that got us 35 years weathering storms, weathering recessions, weathering all that stuff, and to have us in a place where this organization can survive for a couple of months without revenue is pretty amazing.
Sounds really cliche, like a garden almost, cultivation of artists. So like you go in there. I know I went into Open Stage for my first show a couple of years ago, Fun Home, as a seed. And I know I've definitely grown from that because of Open Stage and because of the specific people there. And it's like also the biggest small theater I've ever worked in.
I've seen incredible things on that stage. I've been in plays that have been, I think, incredible. And so that those opportunities, those things that you wouldn't occur to you, the things that you wouldn't, like I said about Angels in America, like I thought it was something different, and then I found out it was for me. I found out it was a story for me, and I find that out so often at Open Stage. These stories that I maybe never heard of or never considered, and I see them, and suddenly they're like, this was for me as an audience member. And I think a lot of audience members feel that way when they see a show there.
Did Open Stage at like every level you could have done Open Stage in high school. I took 2-day workshops, and I did 2 years of MTW in the summer, and then I went on and I did CASA before it became a full-time charter, when it was just the half-day assistant taught, and I interned with MTW, and now coming back, it's kind of I get to see all sides of it, which is amazing. And it's weird because it does feel like coming home, even though I walked in and the space, Stuart was walking me around kind of trying to explain where every space was and what this was before. But at the same time, it just feels like I walked in and it was like I'd never left.
Hello, we're the Campbells.
Hello. Hi. So we just wanted to take a second to talk about how we appreciate Open Stage giving us a place to do theater together as a family, which has been very special for us to do.
We got to do that 2 years ago with Little Women, and it was a wonderful experience.
And we also did that with Amelie, which was a couple months ago, and that was also pretty fun.
We love you, Open Stage.
So thanks.
And we love you, the Campbells, and all of our artists. We absolutely adore our family of artists, and I'm so glad, Vesta, that it felt like you'd never left. We truly are here for all of you. We were literally built for you and rebuilt for you, our artists, and we love you. Thank you for creating such beautiful work. And speaking of beautiful art, I wanted to thank the production teams and casts of two very special projects. Back in March, when the world began its great intermission, the cast and crew of our production of Angels in America pivoted. The show is giant. It's an epic in every sense of the word. But thanks to their heart and to their dedication, we were able to bring Tony Kushner's beautiful play to life in a new way and online. Over 6 nights and 6 episodes, audiences were transported to 1985 New York City, where lonely people struggled to navigate a confusing world rife with political turmoil and threatened by a confusing virus. When we look back at 2020, I just know people will proudly say, I was there when Angels in America happened. The artists at Open Stage have had to pivot over and over, and I'm so thankful. The students and parents of the Alsadek Theater School learned how to take it online, and they've done it beautifully. Our 21st annual production of The Diary of Anne Frank was recorded and edited beautifully by the director, Robert Campbell, and presented just last week. For those of you that missed the diary, please mark your calendars for Sunday, July 19th, as we will once again play this important story and virtual theater piece. We also remounted a production originally produced by True North Theater Company, reimagined as a virtual theater piece, directed for video by Brianna Dow, and created adhering to social distancing guidelines. And Iliad is a joy to watch and an astounding piece of theater, featuring Joseph Osborne as the musician Muse, and in a tour de force performance, Tom Weaver as the poet.
So I just wanted to take a moment to thank Open Stage for the opportunity to tell this story again. So many years I've sat in your theater and I've witnessed so many beautiful stories and so many beautiful performances. And your space is truly a sacred place for me. And the fact that I was able to step into your space, into that sacred space, and be able to tell this story was really a wonderful highlight, one just of my life, but also this weird time in which we're all living. So thank you for that. And thank you for Bree for creating such a beautiful telling of this story. And I hope that those of you that saw it, that you were affected by it in a positive way. And I hope the story stays with you. And I can't wait to step back into your sacred space once it's safe for us all to do so.
Hi, my name is Jeff Ludermoser, and I played Prior Walter in this year's production of Angels in America online at Open Stage of Harrisburg. And I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience with the production and offer some thanks to Open Stage of Harrisburg for making it a possibility for me and for the rest of the cast and crew. So working on Angels was one of the best theatrical experiences I've had. But long before we started rehearsals and I was offered the part, I just started working probably a year in advance, doing script work on my own and research on my own. And that kind of work, that actor work, was really, really valuable, not just because it helped with the production, but that's the type of work that I love doing as an actor, and I hadn't been doing much of that in a lot of the productions that I've been involved in the past few years. And so just getting to do that and being in a show that kind of required that work was really exciting. And then I got to work with this amazing cast and crew, and I really couldn't have asked for a better team to be a part of. And I was just so grateful when all of the restrictions started being put in place that Stuart and the rest of the team were able to help us move everything into an online format and then secure the rights to actually perform it online and to be received so well by the audiences that shared that experience with us. We did not know what was going to happen with our show, or if people were going to watch it or like it, and everything turned out to be quite successful, at least from my perspective, and I'm so grateful and so amazed by that, because I've never done anything like that before. So I'm grateful to have had that experience. I know a lot of shows weren't able to do something like that, and so the fact that we were able to still create something and have an end result was really meaningful. But ultimately, the best part of working on Angels in America was the people. So, like I've mentioned the audience, I've mentioned the cast, I've mentioned the crew, but theater is meant to form community and inform community. And I think we were able to really do that. And so the process of working on Angels in America, most of all, was a really strong example of what powerful theater should be. And the fact that we have that here in our local Harrisburg, Central Pennsylvania community is incredible. And I'm just, again, so grateful to be a part of it. And I fully support Open Stage, and I hope that everyone will, and I'm glad that you do too. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks.
Cash, check, or credit card. Name your destination. Hi, I'm Christopher Ellis, and I had the privilege of playing Belize in Open Stage's Angels in America Online, here to celebrate and give so much love to the community of artists that have become a home away from home for me. And it give me space, so as Rumi states, to be what I am, to live the life that was set for me to live, to voice the things that only I can voice, to bear the blossoms that are commanded of my heart. This is what I want, and truly that can't be presumptuous. So let's toast or raise a tea mug to all the community of artists of Open Stage that are just wonderful, amazing, beautiful, creative creatures. Bye for now. You're all beautiful, each and every one of you. More life.
I'm almost done. The fountain's not flowing now. They turn it off in the winter.
ice in the pipes.
But in the summer, it's a sight to see.
I want to be around to see it.
I plan to be.
I hope to be.
This disease will be the end of many of us.
But not nearly all.
And the dead will be commemorated.
And we'll struggle on with the living.
And we are not going away.
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 We will not die secret deaths anymore.
The world only spins forward.
The world only spins forward.
We will be citizens.
The time has come.
Bye now.
You are fabulous creatures.
You are fabulous creatures.
Each and every one.
And every one.
And I bless you.
I bless you.
More life.
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 The great work begins.
All right. Okay, so we're gonna go more life on 3, 2, 1. More
life.
This is fun. I could do this all day.
And sometimes we did, Stacey. Sometimes we did. So we are going to close out the evening with a half-hour discussion around 2 different topics, and I'd like to invite to the stage to the screen some wonderful individuals that are here to talk about 2 different topics. I'll go ahead and present the topics first. That would be the first one is creating art in, around, and after the pandemic. And the second one is duty, how artists can help create a more inclusive theater. So those are the 2 topics we're going to talk about today, and we're going to go to an open stage round table. Welcome, y'all. Thanks so much for being here.
Hey.
Hello.
Joining us today, we have Sharia Benn, actor, director, and artistic director of Sankofa African American Theater Company. She is also a board member here at Open Stage. Tom Weaver, an actor, most recently seen at Open Stage in An Iliad and Angels in America. Karen Ruch, actor, director, and 2019 St. Genesius Award honoree. David Zayas, actor, and panelist on Open Stage's new show, The Obstructed View. And Alexis Campbell, actor, Court Street Cabaret co-host, and the 2020 St. Genesius Award honoree. Not just nominee, honoree. So anyway, thank you all so much for being here today for this round table. I thought it would be really cool to bring some of my most favorite people and I think some of the most brilliant minds in our theater family together to talk about some important stuff. So I'll go ahead and present some prompts, and then we'll go ahead and launch right into it. What we'll go ahead and do first, after I present the prompt, is go ahead and have everybody respond to the prompt, and then we'll go ahead, and then after everyone responds to it quickly, then we can go ahead and jump into more of a free-flowing conversation. So we'll go ahead and go, I guess, clockwise. So this next one, so we'll start right next to me with Karen. But first of all, the first prompt is, in 100 years, when a generation of theater students are reading about the American theater and the art created in and around the 2020 pandemic, what words will be used to define and describe this period of art making? And now turn the page in that history book. In that same book, what does the theater do after the pandemic?
All right. So the words I thought about for right now, this moment, Zoom. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I didn't even know Zoom existed until this all happened. But look at all of the art that's being created through it. You know, I think, not to really be a commercial for that company, but it's definitely going to be an important part of the dialogue. Unmute. You're on mute. I mean, how many times have we all said that? But also, I think, I mean, on a positive side, I think the accessibility of theater maybe is growing in some way, but the struggle has been, are people ready to see it in this way? So I think that's going to be the balance that I don't know that we've found yet. So that's the right now part. You want me to do the part 2 as well?
Sure.
I think theater will emerge. It almost has to. It has to emerge more resilient than it was before, more agile, but it has to emerge more relevant, and certainly actively anti-racist, because of everything else that's going on. So that's my hope for how we'll come out the other end of this.
How about you, Tom?
So thinking about, you know, the way theater is now during this pandemic, the words that come to mind for me are it's progressive. We've been very progressive for an art form that at times can just make the comfortable choice in order to just produce what it is that we need to produce. And suddenly we were all placed in a situation where we literally could not do that. And some of the things that are being done are really progressive and really exciting, and still somehow theatrical. And I don't quite know how to define how it's theatrical, but it is. And theater is still happening now. It's just happening in a way that it's never been happening before. So in a way, it's exciting for the amount of limitations that we think that we have, and for how scary it can feel sometimes. And I really agree with what Karen had to say. When this is over, if this is ever over, and when we come back to what it is that we do, I really hope that we will be better for having spent this time the way that we've had to spend it. And that when we come back, we will be making choices that are thoughtful, that are purposeful, that have intention, and that are, in a way, very healing for our community that absolutely needs us to be that way for them. So I'm excited for the brave new theater that is to come, because I think we will be better for it having spent this time this way.
Alexis?
Yeah, I mean, if I had to pick a word, I think the word ingenuity comes to mind. I mean, I think about all of the creative ways that theater is still happening. And I think that it's really interesting to think about the fact that even if a play isn't happening in the way that we traditionally conceive of it, like it's still a play and it's still theater. Angels in America was still a play. We just were all in different places. And I think that like the idea of being physically distant versus socially distant is also like an important distinction, because I think that there are a lot of ways that are in a lot of ways, I feel like I've become socially more engaged with people than I have when I was physically able to be around them. And I can tell you one thing, like I will never, ever, ever take, I will never take like being in the room with, in a rehearsal room for granted again. And like, I think of all the times like that I was annoyed or like didn't feel like going or whatever, like I'll never take that for granted again. So I think when I come back, or when we all come back, I know that that's something that I'll take with me. It's just an appreciation for that.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, Alexis. Dave?
Yeah, I would, when you think about specifying one word to kind of encapsulate everything, I was really feeling the same thing you were just talking about, Alexis. And so my word was insistence. In that, as artists, we are called to tell stories. We are called to share those stories with other people. And as theater artists, we do that on the stage. And so this time when we haven't been able to, we've had to be ingenuitive in how we do that, but also we're doing it because we must do it. And finding whatever way possible to do it out of the necessity of telling. And I think that's also true for our audiences. That I think of the note that Open Stage received during the run of Angels in America from an audience member who had loved theater for most of her life, but had to stop attending live theater because it was difficult for her to hear no matter what was happening. And that being able to have artists right there in her home with her was the first time that she's been to a play in years. And I think that that's really kind of what encapsulates this time. It's highlighting the necessity of that. And as far as what happens after, I do really agree with Karen, especially with the relevance of our stories. I think our whole framework of what we think of when we think of our history and our stories must be different now. There are so many classic stories that are classic for a reason, and they speak to a true part of human experience, but our frame of reference is now irrevocably changed. And I think our theater has to speak to that.
How about you, Sharia?
For me, it's after the pandemic, theater has to, stays present and persevere. So staying present is about being in the moment, not going back to the way things were, not being comfortable, and present is being active and observing what's happening in the community, in our theaters, in our homes, in our lives, in the lives of others, right there where we are, and being available. That, we talk about access, but I think a step further is really being available. And it's a process. So being present allows all of those things to happen, and for us to heal and be stronger.
Yeah. I'm listening to all of y'all. Do you see any, each one of you brought up some really beautiful points. Do any of you see any connective tissue there between what you all what you each talked about when it comes to the looking back, and then also maybe a little bit of the crystal ball.
Yeah, there were definitely, I mean, you could see the common threads. I mean, the relevance, the having to really engage with our community. I mean, that kind of speaks to your second point that we're going to get to is our work has to be centered on the people we want in our audience and we want on our stage. So, you know, we can't just impose our vision. I mean, there's been so much ego. I'm speaking from my own perspective, you know, so much ego involved in producing theater. And we have to let that go. And we have to make sure that we are serving the people we want to work with and the people we want to do this for. And we need to center it on their experience and their needs and the stories that they need to hear.
Yeah.
I feel like one of the things that the pandemic in general has really, like, you know, it's really shown a light on the fragility of all of the structures that we have taken for granted for forever. So, you know, I doubt that any of us could have ever envisioned a world where we couldn't physically produce theater like in the way that we thought, or that we couldn't go to work in the way that we used to, or, you know, our kids couldn't go to school. I mean, all it takes is one little thing to upend everything. So I think that, you know, like, it's just really important, like Karen said, that we examine, you know, like, why are we doing this? And because if it is just for ourselves, to feel creative or artistic or special in some way, then I don't know that that's the best reason to do it. And you know, what are we doing? So I feel like a lot of like a big bright light has sort of been shown on everything, and we have to examine why and what we're trying to do.
Yeah. And look, theaters went dark so that we could be illuminated. We left the stages, theaters closed because of COVID-19. And there was this, we were stressed. And I remember having conversations with people that COVID-19 is the great common denominator. When this all started, you know, we are human, so our bodies are all susceptible to this, and we all have to do our part to keep each other safe and to stop the spread of this virus. And we're such unity around being human. We're all just human, and this virus is no respecter of race, age, income, status. It was going to get us all. And then as it grew and people were infected, we started to see that, wait a minute, this is not the great, you know, common denominator. There are different outcomes for this virus based on age, race, socioeconomic standing. So then it was started to yet again polarize us and separate us. But then it was illuminating because the spotlight was on these inequities. And then it was like all of the ingredients for a perfect storm. So everybody was home. Everybody was, their kids driving them crazy. Everybody being stretched. So we went from stressed to stretched. And in that we were innovative as artists. using virtual platforms. And Zoom's been out for years, but now it's in everybody's vocabulary. It's going to be in the Urban Dictionary, Zoom. And but we all had to be in the same place to see the same things happen and play out. And then light bulbs are starting to go off with, wow, we're all inundated with these images of inequity, of violence, of systemic racism, and could get away from it. So again, stretching us as artists, as communities. So it went from being a common denominator to, I hope, being putting us on common ground. And I really hope that's what the history books that are written by a wider intellectual and racial and diverse group of authors, I hope that's what they report.
Absolutely. I think that's a really great transition to our second prompt tonight, and that is, what can individual artists do now and later to help build an inclusive and just theater industry for BIPOC artists?
Starting with me again.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we all need to learn, unlearn, and listen first and foremost. And I'm still working on that and acknowledging the part we've had to play in the supremacy of whiteness in our theater. But we like to say that our job is telling universal stories about the human condition. But if our approach to those stories is excluding people of color, indigenous peoples, differently abled people, LGBTQ folks, non-binary folks, if it's excluding those folks, we are using the wrong word. We are not universal. This is not the universal human experience. And I think we need to acknowledge that. If we are not including those people, then we are not telling universal human stories. And that's the important work. We need to do better, and we need to stop using that word if we're not doing it. So I think personally, my approach is, how can I use my love of theater and my privilege within it to actively engage with my community? Like that's the work I'm interested in.
How about you, Tom?
So one, I think something that artists can do is engage in discussions like this. And I think what's important is, for one, there to be a level of accountability and a level of acknowledgement, particularly amongst white artists in this profession. And knowing that, and this is not my phrase, and this is something somebody else has said, but the fact that white supremacy isn't the shark, it's the water that we are all swimming in. So there's no way that you're not getting wet, and there's no way that you are not in some way participating in it. And so what it's going to take for all of us, I think, going forward in this profession is to, one, kind of like what Alexis brought up about like fragility of structures, but the fragility within ourselves, particularly, I think we just lost David, but particularly the fragility of white men, and getting past that and knowing that when somebody brings something up to you that might be problematic in a way that you have told a story in the past, or a way that you are conducting a rehearsal, that you receive that as an act of love, and you receive it as an act of kindness, and that it's more of someone saying, like, you've got some racism stuck in your teeth, you might want to do something about that. And it's really important for all of us to be willing to listen and to move forward in that way, and to know that this is not going to be solved by more diverse casts and a more diverse board. It goes farther than that. It goes to looking at the system that has been built to exclude and oppress and colonize. So what we have to do is look at simple things like maybe unpaid internships and apprenticeships that barely pay anything are not the way to go, and it's not a way to promote diversity. And then to have diversity, but to truly listen and work with the people in that room, as opposed to just being in that room and thinking it's enough. So I think that's what it's going to take, is for all of us to have conversations like this and be willing to move forward and throw our fragility aside.
Alexis?
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said so far, and I think one of the most important things, just to sort of tag on to what Tom said about us all swimming in the water, we didn't make us as individuals. We didn't make the water, right? But what are we doing to keep the status quo going? Are we making comfortable choices, and are we willing to be uncomfortable, and are we willing to look at ourselves critically and challenge ourselves to make better choices? And to really listen. And I think that once we stop taking things so personally, and when we take a step back, our immediate reaction as white people to the idea of racism is like, we've been taught that it's this good, bad binary. If you're racist, you're a bad person. And so whenever anybody comes at you with any kind of criticism, we shut down, right? Like, we cannot hear it. And we've got to get over that if we're going to really make any progress and really be decent, partners and create an environment to make art or to do anything that isn't just being projected through a white lens and centering a white perspective.
Sharia?
Yeah. Tom and Alexis have said, I was writing down some of my thoughts, and you hit all of them, really. And so as a Black artist, and I just want to define BIPOC because it may be new for people, but Black, Indigenous, people of color. Just that breaks down, that acronym really breaks it down, that there are, again, there's a systemic racist culture, and we've all been brought up in that. We've all been socialized into that system. So it's hard. I get it as a Black person for white people to see it, to understand it, and but acknowledging that yes, we have a white supremacist structure that marginalizes not just people of color, but there are specific segments. And for Black artists, Black people, the system has been created intentionally to marginalize and dehumanize Black people. So as artists, I would say white artists should be very mindful of that when and handle that, be accountable for that, and not guilt and keep rehashing, I'm sorry. No, see it for what it is. And it's not going to, it didn't happen in 30 days. This is generational. So it's not going to be, the system is not going to be dismantled right away. Your learning is not going to happen right away. But what can happen immediately is the awareness and the commitment to learn, to do the work, to understand what this is, and also care for BIPOC artists. And that is, this is an awakening for white America, but this is the life that artists of color, that people of color have been living forever. And it's traumatizing, and it's trauma we've suffered in private and we deal with privately. Now, all of a sudden, it's very public. And well-meaning, intentioned people can cause further trauma if you're acting and you're not really understanding what how systemic it is or what you're doing. So I say, do some work, have these uncomfortable discussions with your people of color. And if you don't know any, then that's a problem too. That right there is saying, well, I've got one, or I know some Black people because I've been in shows with them. Yeah, that's should be enlightening. But give people grace as Black people are navigating this too. Having our trauma, sometimes it feels like put on display. And so it's uncomfortable on both ends. And just be aware of that, I think is a great thing. And being sure not to inject and center a racist reaction into the situation. When we try to talk about it, then the kind of number one response I get is, I'm not racist. Well, it's not about you. And it's about a system, and it's about recognizing some things. And for theaters, I call for theaters to reconstruct, or actually deconstruct, some models. Actors of color don't have the same access to the training and education. So when you're looking for actors or technicians, prepare that they may need training. They have some gifts, but you have to have programs if you really want to be inclusive. Deal with those issues. Make the training, the education, their development available, and realize sometimes you have to do that kind of work to bring them into the space. So it's very complicated, but we ought to start. and with conversations like this, and being open to admit that you caused some unintentional trauma, and be ready to work for healing on that.
Thank you. Thank you. Dave?
Yeah, can you hear me, first
Yes.
of all? Okay, good. I had a thing with my thing. Yeah, to kind of continue with what you were saying, Sharia, from my own experience as a Latino, I have never lived in a reality where I can say something like, I don't see color. And I know a lot of well-meaning people do feel that way and do express that, and a lot of but at the same time, a lot of people say that in bad faith as well, to excuse themselves from any culpability, or to willfully perpetuate these systems. So one thing that I would hope that, as we do in theater for moving forward, is breaking past that conditioning that we've can put on ourselves in America of, if we don't acknowledge race, then there won't be racism, because there's always been racism. It's built into our communities in the way they were plotted. It's in the way that access to institutions was granted. So not looking at it hasn't done anything to fix it in our lifetimes. So I think it's most important for people to first recognize that seeing color is not only not a bad thing, it's a vital thing, because it leads to a different lived experience. And if, like you were saying, Karen, with theater not really being universal, if we are not actually looking at these different lived experiences and recognizing that there is no default, that whiteness isn't normal. Like when you even hear the word, the picture a normal person, like the image in most of our minds is a white person. That's a falsity. That's a lie. That we as a nation specifically, I'm not very well traveled, so I don't know what they do in the rest of the world, but I know at least in America we got that going on. And as American artists, that's our responsibility to break through. You know, as theater specifically, we help shape the conversation of our society. To paraphrase Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, if the full humanity and experience of race is not a part of our culture in theater, then we can and must make it our culture in theater.
I think that's really beautiful, Dave. The something that lately that I have something that I read really stuck with me. First of all, if anybody hasn't yet read Me and White Supremacy by Layla Saad, and also White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo, those two books are should be on your nightstand immediately, or in your Kindle or what have you. But something, I guess a metaphor maybe that I've been thinking a lot about lately, I can't remember even who said it, was we talk a lot about making sure that there's room at the table. But the problem is that when you talk like that, then who owns that table? And what? So when you start second guessing that, and it's not because an seemingly innocuous phrase is the actual problem, but you can. I think that for me, it's about acknowledging that this is there's no Band-Aid, there's no easy fix. This is the beginning of a very long journey for us as artists to figure out what we can do now and later. And if I may be so bold to say, those books have been a really good now for me. And there's tons and tons of wonderful readings out there as well. And if anybody would like resources, you're welcome to email me at OpenStage, and I would be glad to share my not exhaustive list, but the one that I've been putting together that's been helpful for me. Anybody else have any commentary and reaction to your friends' reactions to the? That was a weird sentence. Do you have any commentary in reaction to what you just heard?
I'm just really grateful to know all of your beautiful minds and share this conversation with you. So I want to put that out there right now.
Yeah. Thanks, Dave. And an interesting thing that we at OpenStage are working on, and this is an organizational conversation more than an individual artist conversation, but we're looking at what our action items are and we're writing them down, and we're gonna put them out there. We haven't done it yet. We've done some stuff like that, obviously, but we haven't done like a, hey, here's our plan. We're drafting it and we're really enjoying it. Enjoying it is relative, but the idea of we're delving deep to figure that out. So I think that maybe writing it down is another really good now for people. If you don't journal, yeah, go ahead, Alexis. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think, we have this strange opportunity right now where we're not producing shows. Usually I think, there's always an excuse. We're always so busy. There's always so much going on. How do we have time? And now we have the time to have conversations and think through all of these things. And I think that we would be remiss to not take advantage of this weird pandemic opportunity that we've been given to examine ourselves and examine, what we need to do. Because, I'm sure, Stuart, under quote unquote normal circumstances, it would be difficult to devote that time. And I think that we've been given a gift in a way. So let's use it.
Yeah, I think about that a lot, Alexis, how I almost cringe to think at some things that some theaters would be producing right now as a response, and in some ways I'm grateful that there's the time, we have that time to be very purposeful about when we do come back onto a stage, what are we putting up there? We can't do Othello or a diverse cast of Romeo and Juliet or To Kill a Mockingbird and have that be enough and think it's some kind of answer or solution. We have to be very purposeful and have intent with the choices that we make. And Stuart, I think it's wonderful that OpenStage is putting together action items that if my understanding is that will be public, that people can see. Yeah. And I think that's one of the great things about the hashtag We See You White American Theater petition that went around, is that there were white artistic directors who made statements about, this is what I'm going to do going forward, and some of them were copy and pasted, but they put them out there for people to see. And so now we know, and now there's accountability. And so that when those moments arise, rather than calling out, we can really call in and say, like I said, hey, you made this statement a couple of years ago. I'm wondering about this choice that's happening right now. And to be able to receive that with love and know that when we put things out there like that, that it's in an effort to make all of this better. And so I really applaud OpenStage for doing that. And I agree with you, Alexis. There's a very fortunate time that we have to just pause and really make sure that what we do next is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, timing is everything, huh?
Yeah.
But because, and I talked about earlier, we went into COVID and we left the stage stressed. So even personally, what we were doing as as art organizations, there was just so much going on, and in retrospect, I'm like, we're just busy, and we're so just going from one production to the next, and living life, and having to meet the numbers, and then doing all of this stuff. And were we even doing art well? Were we doing it justice? It just was, the pacing of life was too much. So we needed this pause. And now having the time, it's great to create these systems of accountability. So I loved at first all of these statements coming out. And then after about the 50th one, I'm just like, okay, statements are just statements. And so what are the action steps behind this? So I love the idea of not only having actions for the organization, but publishing those so that people of color can actually look at those. And those are some of the things that artists should be doing, regardless of if you're really advocating and an ally. Before you do a show with a theater, you say, I need to see your strategy. And I want to make sure they're checking in on the strategy. What steps have you completed? Because you can put out action steps, but if you're not going back and revisiting those and revising, because we're continually learning, then it's just lip service. It's not effective. It is harmful. Even now, I caution people, white people, don't be so quick to call out racist behavior or call someone racist. Don't call them out. Just slow down on that, because we're all learning. People have done things unintentionally, unknowing that, wow, this was harmful and traumatic, and this was a display of, or an example of, just racism being socialized in our culture. So that could actually backfire on the BIPOC community. People are upset because they've been called out by other white people. And so there's yet another level of trauma that BIPOC communities are suffering. And this is this backlash and retribution. So just being careful. But how would you know if we didn't talk about it, if we didn't get together, if we weren't vulnerable and then accountable? So I love that Open Stage is putting that out publicly. I'll be checking in with Stuart. Like, hey, Stuart, where are you guys on this? And then be open to opening wounds so that they can be cleansed and then that they can heal properly. My dad, when he was living, he had a deep cut on his back. And this deep cut kept healing too quickly. And I was a little girl and I didn't understand what the doctors were saying, that you're healing too quickly. So they call the syndrome keloiding, but where the surface skin would very rapidly cover the wound. So the wound was not healing from within to without. It was just healing on the surface. And they would keep scraping this area, and it just kept keloiding. And every time they would scrape, it would just get worse and worse. So finally went to a doctor, and the doctor said, you know what? To do this right, we're going to actually have to go in, open up the wound, and then we're going to have to put some stents or some things in that wound to make it heal slowly so that it can heal fully and correctly. And once it's healed correctly, it won't keloid anymore. And damned if they weren't right. But it was painful for my father to go into that hospital knowing they were going to open this. Already it was very painful, and it had been through 3 or 4 series of this keloiding, but he went in. It was what do you call it? It was optional. It wasn't any. He made the choice to do it, and but after he did that, and it took forever for that thing to heal. My God, I remember my mom packing and unpacking that wound for like 6 months. Each time she went in, though, every day, she had to use a little less packing, little less. Finally, it healed. And all he had was a scar. And the scar was there to say that that was the wound, but he didn't have the keloid. He didn't have that big, thick mass on top of it. That's what this is. We've got to be able on both sides to say, I'm willing to reopen a wound, but only because I'm committed to healing wholly, to healing fully, to healing so we won't have this any longer. And that's going to be difficult because we've got such a small connected community in our area of artists. But if we don't do it, I mean, I'm on a chat group with 14 or 15 actors of color. Some from this area, many from the region. But man, they're sharing things with me that I know, I believe things weren't intentional, but they happened. And until we can take that big step and say, Stuart, you said come to the table, and just think about this. There is suspicion. There's fear with BIPOC actors because this isn't the first go round of this. And we don't know whether we're being asked to come to the table, to sit down and sup, or to serve the meal. So even the invitation has to be thoughtful. And it's, hey, I want to feed you. What would you like to eat and where? It's a shift. It's a shift in mindset. So, but long way around to being accountable, being available, being vulnerable, but willing to heal.
Thank you so much, Sharia, for that. I think that my other option is that we just burn the damn table and we build one together, which is what I hope that we can do. And I know that this group is willing to put in that work, and I really appreciate all of you for your minds, for your souls, and your hearts tonight, and for all of our guests. And I hope that you will join us tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock for our happy half hour, and then also at 7:30 for a continuation of this. But this is going to be a lot of comedy and a lot of singing, little shift of gears. But this has been an important conversation, everyone, and I really, really appreciate your time. Thank you for opening up with us at this round table.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you all. And have a wonderful
Thank you.
evening. Yeah. Stay safe, everyone. Thank you so much.